Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are amazing games. Open, beautiful, interactive environments, things to do wherever you go. These games are purposefully designed to give you a childlike sense of wonder and exploration you haven't felt since the early Zelda games. Today, I'm here to talk about how Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are literally next-generation love letters to early Zelda games like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker. There are others, but those four games are essentially the giants that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom stand on the shoulders of. Hell, pretty much everything in those games are taken from the early Zelda games. The dragons, the great fairies, most of the enemies, the different races, beetle, even the durability and climbing mechanics stem from Ocarina of Time. They have so many features and characters from the old games, but they're updated into their best 3D high-resolution form. Twilight Princess has its similarities to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in the sense that it was a sort of revival of the Zelda series. New graphics and an open world to explore. However, its differences lie in the reason Twilight Princess was made. For better or for worse, Twilight Princess was not an incredibly innovative game. It sacrificed its innovation and possible new avenues to explore to go for a more tried and true Zelda experience in order to get people back into Zelda. This idea worked and didn't work. If you're a Zelda fan, you'll probably know about the community's divide on Twilight Princess. While I consider Twilight Princess an amazing game, I don't think Legend of Zelda truly had its comeback until Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild learned from Twilight Princess, understanding that an open world and new graphics are amazing, but need to be accompanied by new, innovative ideas. Because that's part of what Zelda is about, being creative. It's meant to be new and challenging and fun. Nowadays, Miyamoto and the other creators of Zelda finally have the technology.
We can rebuild it. We have the technology.
To make their games into what they've always wanted. From the start, Zelda games were about exploration and interactivity with the world. When the N64 was first coming out, Miyamoto was probably busting his nut at the opportunity to create a 3D Zelda world that you can explore openly and interact with your environment in ways we've never seen before. One example of this in Ocarina of Time was where you could cut up the signs for no other reason than the fact that Miyamoto wanted his game to feel like you could properly interact with the world. Just like when Wind Waker came out, it was new and innovative and creative, while not being incredibly well received at the time. As we all know, it ended up becoming a cult classic among Nintendo fans, and is touted as one of the best Zelda games to have ever graced our consoles. And for good reason. Miyamoto and his team have always been innovators, and with each new Zelda game, they keep pushing the boundaries of what they think is possible in their games, and Wind Waker is a prime example of that. A timeless art style, new and improved combat, trying new things like sinking Hyrule under an ocean, and having Link travel through it on a boat instead of just on foot, like every other game. Even looking at the dialogue menu, it's clear how much Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom took from Wind Waker alone. Wind Waker was laying the groundwork out for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom before the developers even knew it. Here's an excerpt from Miyamoto himself in a 1999 interview about the release of Ocarina of Time. If we don't make 2 or 3 more games, I don't think anyone will be satisfied, myself included. And he was right. But they'd go on to make a lot more than 2 or 3 games, because if they didn't, I wouldn't be making this video. As new technology kept releasing, Zelda games released along with it, taking advantage of that new hardware. The technical difference between Ocarina of Time and Tears of the Kingdom is something that people in 1998 probably couldn't even imagine. And as time goes on, the same people who played Ocarina of Time as a kid grow up and lose that childlike sense of wonder they felt playing that game and other games like it. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are meant as the new generation of Zelda for, well, the new generation of kids whose parents grew up on Legend of Zelda. It's a revamped version of those older Zelda games. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are what we saw in our heads as kids when we played Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. While I also think these games are being made for the new generation, I can't help but feel that it's also made for the old generation that played Zelda games too. Like I said, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were what we saw in our heads as kids while playing older Zelda games, and now we actually get to play and experience that all over again. But this time the graphics are that good, and we can interact with anything we want. We've moved on from only specific walls being climbable, only certain areas being explorable, not being able to interact with almost everything you see due to technical limitations. That's over. We've moved on to an era where that is possible now, and we can really experience what we saw in our head as kids, but for real now. I hope that all makes sense and doesn't sound like the ramblings of a nostalgic gamer. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you all enjoyed it because I want to keep doing content like this. So peace out, and I'll have another video out sometime.